Thank you, John. Thanks for coming. This is the first job I've had that's had a weekly press conference. I got to imagine these are a lot more fun after victories, and I'm hoping to find out. Saturday night was a great atmosphere here at the stadium. I thought our fans showed up. I thought our team came out and played a lot more enthusiastic. They were a lot more physical, but we weren't as good as we need to be. I mean, obviously, the score of the game tells you all that you need to know. I was proud of our kids. I told them yesterday in the team meeting, that's as happy as I've ever been after a 45-0 loss, but I think that's the first time I've ever been beat 45-0 in my life. So right now the biggest thing for us is in the locker room, keeping a positive energy, positive atmosphere going on. The kids yesterday at practice were excellent. They came out and practiced with some enthusiasm and practiced hard. And bad news is we're 0-2. We're off to a tough start. We don't look like a very good football team right now. The good news is we start league play this week, and it's a fresh start for us. They told them the preseason's over. A lot of those freshmen who played for us, I told them look at that as if it's an NFL preseason, and now it's time for the regular season to start. So, we got Tusculum at home. It's a team that we beat a year ago in overtime in a very good football game. They're very similar to us in the fact that they're going through a coaching change and trying to search and find their identity as well. I'm not as concerned, I'm not as concerned about them as I am about us. If we show up and play at a higher level, then we got a better chance of winning. If we continue to play like we have, making mistakes and not playing a physical brand of football, then it could be a long night for us. But I hope and I think our kids will be up for a challenge. We need a good week's of practice, a good week's of preparation, and then come out Saturday and just play and have fun and let the chips fall wherever they fall at. So right now, there's not a whole lot to talk about. I'll answer all your questions.
Last week we saw that Calvin Everett's got injured. How's his progress going right now?
No, he actually looks and seems fine. That's the thing with concussions is they aren't fine. There's a protocol you go through, and he's in it now, and it's something that's taken a lot more serious than when I played. It's one of those things that 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, guys looked at it, and if a guy breaks a bone, you could see it, and you could see it heal. When it's their brain, you really don't know what's going on, and it's something that obviously we don't take lightly. It was the kid just made like a 17-yard run to play before, and then he makes an 11-yard run. He spins, breaks a tackle, and the free safety comes over from nowhere and hits him pretty good. And, really caused the fumble. I won't really blame Calvin. The kid put a good lick on him, and we took him out immediately, and our training staff did a good job diagnosing it. And I can't imagine a scenario in which he'd be back this week. You don't push those things. You listen to the doctors and you go from there.
Also, you said last week that TJ was also hurt, and also I see on the depth chart that Kyle maybe is Duggar ready to come back.
I'd say that was a mistake. Kyle had his meniscus repaired in Atlanta last Wednesday, and when they went in, the good news came out. He had the good meniscus tear, for such a thing, and the doctors are telling us that's 4 to 6 weeks, which you're 2 weeks into an 11-game season. And you really want to see how he is at that time and how we are, where we're at that time. He could take a medical red shirt, and I believe his semesters would add up where he'd have 3 years left. That's something that, it's too early to talk about that right now between him and I. He's still coming off, rehabbing it and doing the things that he's got to do. But at that time, I'll sit and talk to him, and I'm sure he'll sit down and talk to his family, and we'll do what's best for Kyle's future. I think he's got a great future as a football player. I got several guys I've coached who are in the NFL, and Kyle's talent level is at that level. So not having him really hurts us, but by the same token, keeping him healthy and getting him right so we could have him for the future is important to him and to us. TJ, we ran a jet sweep the first play of the game, and it was a 9-yard gain, and it's kind of our night. We had all this stuff planned for the jet sweep and the plays that come off of it, and it's TJ who does that. And he gets a 9-yard gain, and the corner comes off and puts his knee in his thigh, and he's got a thigh bruise. And it's one of those things that it may work out, and he may be at practice tomorrow, or it may linger, and it may be something he has to fight. It's just we'll have to evaluate it. He did not practice last night. He's listed, he's questionable for today's practice. I'd say he may try to do some stuff to get it loose. It's one of the things that once you get it loose, maybe it gets better. But once same thing, we'll listen to the trainers and see where it's at. But when he goes down and Calvin goes down, and you're already down with some guys, then your call sheet goes from limited to extremely limited. And I told Arkita, after the game, he was all bummed out because I said, man, I thought you did an excellent job, coach. And I was calling play. You know how hard it is to call plays when you don't know who the three receivers running on the field are going to be? He was just making it up kind of as he went. And I thought he did a good job. And I thought our kids, for the most part, if you watch the game, we executed halfway decent. We're not as explosive as we need to be. I think that's a product of just where we're at right now within the whole deal. We only called one really deep drop play, and it didn't work out in our favor. So right now we're in a position where we got to try to find some explosiveness in the offense, and we may have to be a little more creative. We're up against it because the creativity could go only as far as our football IQ allows us to go, and we're going from one offense to another, so that can only go so quick. And then then just the building it the proper way. So we're on that line. I do think that and this is a coach, and maybe I'm just being overly positive, we have improved dramatically from where we were at in spring to the camp through week 1 to where we're at right now today as we speak. But that's the good news. The bad news is we had a long ways to go and still do have a long ways to go. Maybe I'm stubborn or stupid or both, but we're not going to give up on our plan. We're not going to give up on what's been successful to us in the past. You're always going to make your offense, defense, kick game cater to what your personnel is, and we'll try to do that. But we'll also try to continue to develop personnel and recruit personnel that fits what we want to be and what we want to look like as well.
Offensively last week, I did make some progress. Being able to put together some drives, but the penalties killed you guys.
Yeah.
What emphasis has been placed on just the mental part of the game?
Well, the first game of the year, we had hardly any penalties, and everyone was bragging that, hey man, you guys really, you looked disciplined. Well, we really didn't play hard enough to be undisciplined. This past week, I thought we played harder, but now we've got to learn how you put all that whole thing together. We did. I mean, it's hard to say that you were better when you didn't score, but we actually did execute better. I mean, there was some semblance to what we were doing. And we went yesterday just working from how to exchange personnel groupings. You had 7 years here where you stayed in the same personnel grouping the entire game. Now we're trying to go from 2 tight ends to 3 receivers to 4 receivers to 5 receivers to 2 backs. And just the exchange of that and the communication of that structurally has been something that we have to work on a lot, versus air. And then you put an opponent out there, it makes it even tougher. My first head coach that I worked for in college is named Doug Sams, and he used to talk all the time about drive killers. He'd say sacks, drops, and penalties are drive killers. And if you really look at us, we drove the ball halfway decent, and those drive killers really hurt us. And those are the ones you can see. The ones you don't see is, we call a play and a kid's supposed to run a crossing route and he runs an out route. The missed assignments that happen to us in the course of the game are hurting us. And, a lot of that's coaching, a lot of that just takes time, a lot of that's guys playing positions they're not used to playing because guys got hurt. There's a whole bunch of factors. It's almost like the perfect storm as to why those things take place. And it may be the cards we've been dealt, but we got to learn as coaches. It's our responsibility to fix it and play it better.
The upcoming opponent, Tusculum, they also have a freshman quarterback.
Yeah.
Freshman quarterback. Defensively, how are you looking to attack him defensively and just mess up his psyche?
Right now, defensively, we're just trying to get lined up right and run to the football and play proper defense. We spent last night working on nothing but leveraging the formation and leveraging the football and running to the football, and that's going to continue to be our emphasis from week to week. The kid who started for me a year ago is on their depth chart as their number 2, and I think from what I've saw, he was a pretty good quarterback for me a year ago. So they must really like this kid. I don't know if the other kid's a little nicked up, or if they really like the freshman. I'm sure that their coaching staff is kind of going through what we're going through in a philosophical change of what you're trying to do, and you're trying to build a program, based on a certain culture and a certain philosophy, and what line is that as opposed to trying to win football games, and that's the line that constantly moves as a coach, and I'm sure that he's he's doing a lot of the same stuff in his staff meetings that we're doing in our staff meetings. And so I know how he feels, but right now, our concentration's on making Lenoir-Rhyne better and trying to go out and have a good product for Saturday night, and let that be our legacy. If we play better, then you win games, and we're not going to get caught up into the opponent and all the things that they can do. Obviously, we're going to do all the preparation. Obviously, we have a plan for, their run game and their, and the way they attack us through the air, and the same on, with their defense and a lot of the blitzes and their multiple front team, a lot of things they do. We're going to prepare and do all those things a certain way, but our biggest responsibility is to try to get our kids better.
The opening kickoff.
Yeah.
There were probably breakdowns in a lot of places that people
Yeah.
really don't see, but the one that stuck out to me to start from sitting in the end zone, had one guy deep, you kick it straight to him.
Yeah.
Is that a mistake on the kickers?
No, I think they had the guy in the middle, and we kicked it deep right. And if you really look at, the ball landed out near the number, which is I think they ran they had a three-man deep, but the way they do it, they had one guy deep and the two guys are kind of up a little bit. So we kicked it deep right, trying to pin them in that deep right corner. And our L side, in kick game speak, you got an R side and an L side, and our L4 and 5 were supposed to squeeze to the ball, and then the 1, 2, and 3 are supposed to come back over top and kind of build a layer. They got kicked out of their lanes, and one kid got blocked pretty good. The other kid who was a safety got a little bit overzealous and fell, and he hits it. And you see it, you watch football, I watch football all day Sunday, obviously, just like the rest of the country, and you see that all the time. And you see team speed that gets it down at the 25, 30, 35. And then what you saw with us, actually, when I was at Concord versus Lenoir-Rhyne in 2009, I felt like we could scheme some stuff up, offense and defense, but when the ball was kicked, you just held your breath because it's a broken play. I mean, if their guys are faster than your guys, you're in trouble. And what you saw on there was, number one, he hit it full speed, and once he's at the 20-25, he's gone. I mean, there's no catching it to him. But no, I thought Hunter did a good job with the kick. He kicked it high. He kicked it out on the numbers. He didn't kick it. There was only one guy back, but if you kick it to the right, left, no, he's gonna run and catch it. I mean, you can't hide it. So we did kick it deep right, and the kid just, he's able to hit the seam running. We had a couple guys get out of their lanes, and it shouldn't cost you the way it did, but it did because, like I said, our one safety who can fly got a little bit too in there and tripped up, and then there's no one back there that could catch him.
Kind of going to the sidelines, that most people know that over the years I've talked about people like Isaiah Whitaker, Ike Whitaker, Michael Green, Joe Anderson, Major Heron, Reuben Haynes, all those young men, when they were out injured, were on the sidelines, and they were kind of coaching up their teammates from their point of view. Right. And when their teammates weren't doing things, I mean, they were firing up and they were still in the game, and kind of some of the players that weren't playing were noticeably missing from the sidelines. Was there a reason? Well,
I mean, Kyle wasn't in town. He was out getting operated on. We'd had him there. There's two things. In those days, almost every freshman was redshirted immediately. I mean, generally speaking, they dressed 70 to 80 kids here. And my outlook on that is, when you got 130 kids and kids are busting their rear end on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for your program, they deserve to dress. And we dressed, the first week we dressed in the high 90s. This past week we were in the lower 90s because we had some guys get hurt. And I talked to the team about it. I said, just some of you injured guys, there's just not room for you down there. It's crowded. Before, when you were a red shirt and 45 guys, you were able to keep those numbers lower. And two, some of those kids you're talking about were those type of kids. I mean, they were the leaders, and we did that in week one. We dressed all the kids who were injured, and in the theory of we would have enthusiasm and they would be able to help us, and they were veteran, and we really didn't get that, So I felt and was told by several people that week one our sideline was not as enthusiastic and did not show the leadership it needed to. So we addressed it, this past week and tried to fix it. Moving forward, what you're saying, I agree with. I mean, I couldn't agree with more. It's just, we're just not there right now, in terms of culture. My biggest concern right now is everyone's like, oh, you got to flip the roster and you need more of your guys. And I mean, obviously everyone who gets hired as a coach knows that. You knew that they on press conference. My biggest concern right now is, creating a winning culture. Don't let the noise that's outside the program get into the program. And one of the things about Lenoir-Rhyne is we've got a lot of support and a lot of people who care. But the other part of that is there's a lot of people who have opinions, and that's fine. I welcome their opinions, but it's just like that. I mean, I tell the team, we're the ones that practice every day. We're the ones that see who can and who's doing. And obviously publicly, I don't say exactly where we're at from an injury standpoint and who's practicing well and performing the way they need to. I will never sell a kid out. That's my job to eat it. But, I kind of keep that stuff in-house. But we got to be a family in that way, as a group. And I think every team has those issues. Every team has problems. When you're losing, those people start listening to those opinions a little bit more. And when you're winning, they don't. They knock. I've been coaching 22 years. I've been a head coach 7 years. I could count on one hand. I mean, I only remember one email in the history of my life about advice on what we should be doing. And I probably got 7 yesterday on what defensive scheme we should be using. So the one guy said that the 4-2-5 doesn't fit our personnel. So when you don't have personnel, you need to run a different defense. And I'm interested to see what defense would work with lesser personnel, because we would definitely run it. But it just is what it is. I mean, I laugh about it because we get tremendous support, and that's part of it, and I welcome that. So with that comes the other part of it, and it's just something we deal with.
Yeah, working on you kind of talked last week about the passion and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So probably, I think it was 68, they're up 64, 68, their offensive linemen.
Mm-hmm.
Played probably to the whistle, maybe a little bit past a few
Mm-hmm.
times, and we let our emotions get the best
Yeah.
of us after that.
Yeah.
It's
It's easy. It's better as a coach to tell them whoa than to make them go. So we yell at them on that situation. We had, we were doing up downs last night, at 9:15 at night or whatever it was for those penalties. We were doing all the little reminders. We address it. We take the kid out immediately. We do all those things. But by the same token, there's a line there of you want to have that emotion, on your side. You just got to learn to control your emotion. I mean, I used to tell my children when they were growing up and playing Little League that you either control your emotions or your emotions control you. And I think you saw some of that. I mean, the one kid you're talking about in particular is a redshirt freshman, and the kid hit him up under the chin, and he reacted like a lot of people would react, and hit him back, and it was 2 penalties, but then you start looking like an undisciplined group. You look like you can't control your emotions, and we address it and try to fix it. And I mean, they had some kids play. When I was shaking those kids' hands at the end of the game, it was like this, every kid. I was like, I mean, you don't realize how big they were. I mean, and their center played with a broken foot, broke early in the game, played till late third quarter, and our guys just haven't learned how to handle those type of things. I don't know that we do that. Some of our kids would, a lot of our kids wouldn't. And I think this junior, senior class, to be quite honest, has been beaten down. I mean, they were recruited by one coach, told, they had a vision of where they were going to be, had a different coach come in right when they were coming in, and that went one way. Now they're on their 3rd coach in as many years, and a lot of that is permeated within our culture. And we've got to fix that, and we have came a long way. I mean, you look at Chris Green, a guy who's totally bought in, and where he was at last year or even in the spring, and right now he's probably our most valuable player, and he's playing at a certain level because he's accepted that, and a lot of them have, most of them have, but there's always going to be a little of that within your program, and the losing just reveals that more. Winning fixes everything. Yeah, when you win, you don't need friends.
The play you mentioned wasn't the first play that
Nah.
young man had, big young man.
Yeah.
Went to and through the whistle, and you talked maybe last week or a week before
Mm-hmm.
about how it was like trying to get back to playing to the edge, or maybe a little cross, or what a lot of people would deem dirty. And I didn't, from a fan's side, I didn't really see that the young man did anything all that wrong. He just wanted what he was doing more than we did, and that's something that,
Right.
like you said, we thrived on.
There's a line there, and anyone who watched the great teams here a few years ago knows that line's there. And When I played for Coach Rodriguez in college, he would always talk about being Jekyll and Hyde. He wanted you to be yes sir, no sir, good person off the field. And on the field, he wanted you on that edge a little bit. And that's where you have to live, in this game. It's not golf. It's, your mind's got to be you got a couple screws loose to choose to play this game. But by the same token, you got to play within the rules. You can't hit guys late. You can't do stupid stuff. You can't be selfish. You can't put, your feelings and what he just did to you ahead of what happens to your team. The one call you're talking about on the offensive lineman, which was the second one, I watched it 1,000 times. He does hit the kid. He's a little bit behind the play. The play was dead, but, the guy didn't see it there. And it was close. It was bang, bang. And, I tried to call a timeout and argue our viewpoint, but you know how that goes at the time. I know how it goes, but I want to at least get my words in. And, but the kid was playing. The kid was playing hard. He was playing on the edge. And we told him he was wrong. We told him he was right into everything up to that point. And they're making an emphasis on blocking behind the play and trying to take all that out of football. And I actually agree with that. I think the game needs to, with the concussions and the way things are, I think the game needs to be cleaned up a little bit. But it's always going to be football. You can't take it totally out. It's always going to be a physical game, and that just is what it is. And you have to play on that edge. Anything else? Oh, thanks for coming, and hope to see you all next week, and hopefully in a good mood. I like to try this after winning once. Tusculum's a team that we're going to have to show up and play hard and play a certain level of football in order to win the football game. But that's what it should be like every week. So I'll see you guys next week, and hopefully with good news. Thanks for coming.